It's exactly what I wanted. Hey friends, I hope your week is off to a great start. Today we're going to be making everything bagel ice cream. This is a flavor I've been seeing all over my Instagram for the past couple weeks, and I'm really curious to see how it tastes. It's a flavor developed by Jeni's Splendid Ice Creams, which is an ice cream brand that I really enjoy. They've got some really premium ice creams, lots of cool flavors. It is quite pricey though. It's $12 a pint. Typically I can buy just 1 pint though from my normal grocery service. However, this everything bagel ice cream is only available for mail order and there's a 4-pint minimum. So I am not trying to spend $50 on everything bagel ice creams, hence we're making it ourselves. So to figure out how we can recreate this, let's start by looking at the ingredients. So we're starting off with non-fat milk, cream, cane sugar, and then a cream cheese base. So this sounds like kind of the standard start to ice cream. You've got some milk and some sugar, cream cheese base, which is the flavor of the ice cream actually. So this is cream cheese flavored ice cream with an everything bagel swirl, or gravelly bits swirled throughout. So the cream cheese base is made from cream cheese, obviously, plus pasteurized milk, cream, salt, carob bean gum, so that's a thickener, and then cheese culture is tapioca syrup, I'm not sure what that does, sugar, cream, salt, and citric acid. So from there we go on to the everything bagel gravel, which is composed of a gluten-free flour, white rice flour, and xanthan gum, plus unsalted butter, cream and natural flavors, and then tapioca syrup, still don't know what that does, cane sugar, and then an everything bagel seasoning blend. This everything bagel gravel sounds like kind of like a streusel or a crumb topping. We've got a floury thing, we've got butter, we've got a sweetener, and then we've got a flavoring. So I have a frame of reference for what that is. And then the last couple ingredients here are tapioca syrup, more. I still don't know what that is, along with natural flavor. Okay, I think I've got a good understanding of what's going on with this ice cream. I'm confused about where the thickeners are because the only thickener that I'm seeing on this list of ingredients is the xanthan gum and the carob bean gum. So I'm assuming those are the things that are giving us body, unless this tapioca syrup is giving us body as well. So let's check and see what that does. Tapioca syrup, natural sweetener, all right. So it's just another sugar. So that confirms then that the thickness in this ice cream is actually coming from gums, which is something that I am not going to do. So I'm going to do kind of more of a standard crème anglaise base, and then I've got an idea around the gravel. We can use a streusel topping technique. We'll just make these two things, combine them, and hopefully it all works out well. So let's get into the kitchen and get it started. Let's get started by making the everything bagel gravel. That way we can bake it and give it time to cool down before we need to mix it into the ice cream base. So here in a medium glass bowl, I've got my rice flour. To that, I'm going to add some light brown sugar, a pinch of kosher salt, and melted and cooled butter. And we'll mix this with a fork to get it evenly combined. So lately we've made a lot of streusel and crumb toppings on this channel. I'm not sure what's going on exactly, but regardless, I had a lot of different kind of base recipes to choose from here. So this recipe is most similar to Claire's streusel topping from the babka that I made a couple weeks ago. So I liked that one because it was a little bit firmer versus the other crumb toppings we've made. And I wanted something that had some structure to it, knowing that we're going to bake this, crumble it apart, and then swirl it through ice cream. I didn't want it to turn all to powder. So I think that this one has the structural integrity to kind of stand up to everything we're going to put it through. All right, so that is all evenly incorporated. And now for the star of our everything bagel gravel, this everything bagel seasoning. Mine is from Fresh Direct because that's the grocery service I use here in New York. I'm very happy with them, and I do have a link in my description box if you want to get $25 off your first order. Not sponsored, I'm just a fan of Fresh Direct. However, if you want to use Trader Joe's or any other brand of everything bagel seasoning, that's totally fine. Alternatively, you could make your own bespoke blend with whatever bagel toppings you like the most, so you can really customize the flavor to your liking. I'm gonna start off with about 2.5 teaspoons of this everything bagel seasoning. This may have been better to add in with the dry ingredients, but live and learn. All right, so that looks evenly incorporated. Let's give it a quick taste and see if it's enough seasoning or if we need a little bit more. Need more seasoning. So I'm going to put in another 2.5 teaspoons for a total of 5 teaspoons of seasoning. So you can see here, we've got a really good presence of all of those everything bagel spices. So I'm feeling pretty good about what's going on here. Let's do one more little pinch. Really garlicky, oniony, salty. Okay, cool. So it is hitting me. It's a little bit overwhelming, which I think is good, because we want this to stand up against that cream cheese ice cream. And so I think we want this to be quite assertive in flavor. So good. So now we just want to squeeze the streusel to form it into kind of a ball. And then I'm going to break it up over a baking tray. And I'm gonna try to leave this in slightly largish pieces. Since we're toasting this up plain, I don't want it to burn. Truly, I'm not really sure how it's gonna work toasting a streusel topping plain, as in not on top of any sort of baked good. This may be a total disaster, so we'll see. So generally, I'm pretty happy with how this crumbling process worked out. Clearly, I've got some that are really large, others that are kind of more medium, and some that are even a little bit on the small side. But I think that's good because that way we'll have our pick of the litter and we can decide what works best for us in the ice cream. Also, I think this is probably a lot more gravel that I'm gonna need for the amount of ice cream we're making, but I'd rather have too much than not enough and be underwhelmed by the presents. With that, we are ready to pop this into our preheated 350-degree oven. I'm thinking this is gonna take 5 to 10 minutes tops, and we're just looking to put a little bit of color on it. All right, and our crumble baked for a total of 13 minutes. You can see we've got a little bit of color on these big pieces. The small kind of scraggly bits have definitely picked up more color. I think that contrast is gonna work in our favor, making me think of like a toasted bagel situation. Though I did just recently learn not everyone toasts their bagel before they put the cream cheese on it. Some people are eating just plain untoasted bagels, which I can't wrap my head around. Are you a toaster or non-toaster? I'm curious, let me know in the comments below. But regardless, we are ready to set this aside to cool down and then move on to making that ice cream base. The base of the ice cream that we're making today is a Crème Anglaise. The recipe I'm using is from the Gourmet Makes Ben & Jerry's video. So to do that, we've got a medium heavy bottom saucepan. To that, I'm adding equal amounts of whole milk as well as heavy cream, just a pinch of kosher salt. And I'm gonna pop this on the stove over medium heat. We need to bring this up to a simmer. While the liquids come up to the simmer, we can make the other half of our Crème Anglaise, which is made from egg yolks along with granulated sugar. And we're gonna whisk this together until it's light and fluffy and at ribbon stage. All right, and I think that this is looking pretty good. So you can see it's light and pale. It kind of runs off the whisk in a ribbon and slowly dissolves back into the rest of the eggs. So we can just let this hang out while we finish bringing that milk up to the simmer. All right, and this took less than 5 minutes to come up to the simmer, so we've just got some bubble action happening around the perimeter of the pan. And so now what we need to do is temper these eggs, otherwise we can risk scrambling them. So while I'm whisking, I'm gonna slowly stream in. So now whisking continuously, I'm gonna slowly stream in about half of this hot milk mixture. And this is just gradually bringing up the temperature of the eggs so that we don't scramble them. You can see my stabilizer really helped me out here. All right, cool. So then we're gonna pop these back into the pan and we'll return this to the heat. So now over medium heat, we're gonna whisk this constantly until it reaches 180 degrees. At that point, the visual cue we're looking for is for the mixture to be thick and coat the back of a spoon. So after about 4 minutes, we're up to 135, so we're moving pretty quickly. All right, and that's been 10 minutes total. Let's see where we're at now. 180, perfect, okay. So we've just hit 180. I'm gonna kill the heat and then we can add in the cream cheese flavor and get it chilled down. We are ready to get the cream cheese flavor added in, but first we need to strain this mixture just in case there were any egg whites or curdly bits in there. I do wanna just show you what the texture here looks like. It's super rich and thick. You can see it's coating the back of a spoon. And when you wipe your finger through, it holds a line like that. So I've got just a fine mesh sieve here, and we're pouring our hot mixture through just to catch anything that might be a little bit lumpy. Then using a clean spatula, I'm just scraping off the bottom here to make sure that we're not leaving any good stuff behind. And you can see there are some little curdly bits in here, a little random yolk strand. So happy that we took the time to strain this out. Before we get this into the ice bath, we need to add the cream cheese flavoring in. However, I'm using real cream cheese. I don't have cream cheese base. I've got 2 ounces of cream cheese here. Rather than trying to stir this into this liquidy thing, I'm gonna scoop out kind of an equal amount of just this cooked mixture. And that way we're working with a lot less liquid and it'll allow us to make sure that we're getting this nice and smooth. So I think using the spatula and just kind of smashing it through is maybe a good strategy here. Maybe an even better strategy is a teeny tiny whisk. Yes, I've got this little baby guy here, so let's use him. He came in a 3-pack of whisks, and truly, he doesn't get enough action. And so since this is lump-free, we can pour it back into the kind of general population of ice cream base. And then I'll give this a quick taste and just see if the cream cheese flavor is coming through strong enough. I'm getting a hint of it, but honestly, I'd like more. So I'm gonna add in another 2 ounces of cream cheese. We'll spoon in more of our mixture. In theory, you probably could have added this cream cheese during that previous stage when we were cooking the eggs. However, I didn't know how much cream cheese I was gonna need to add, so I figured just add it at the end, and that way it's also helping us cool the mixture down slightly. And we'll give this another taste to see if that cream cheese flavor is coming through. Yes, it's got that little bit of tang to it. Now that we're happy with the flavor here, let's get this into an ice bath. So for the ice bath, I've got a large bowl here with ice and water. Not so much water that it's coming over the edge of my mixing bowl, obviously, but it's fully surrounded now with ice and water. So we're gonna just whisk this around until we get that temperature down. We want the temperature as low as possible, ideally below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And as this cools down, you can see that the viscosity of the mixture is really increasing. So there's a lot of body and texture here. It's even holding bubbles as we're whisking. That is a new development since when it was much hotter. So after about 20 minutes, we've hit 40 degrees on our ice cream base, which means we are ready to start churning. So I'm gonna pop this into the refrigerator just to keep it cold while I get everything else situated, and then we'll be back to churn. All right, so our ice cream mixture was hanging out in the refrigerator for about 45 minutes, and it is down to 37 degrees Fahrenheit. So nice and cold, ready for churning. And then I'm gonna be churning using the frozen base that I bought to go along with my stand mixer. So we'll slot this on here. Perfect. And from here, you wanna use the directions that came with your freezer bowl for your mixer. Mine wants me to turn it on first over low speed and then slowly stream the mixture in while the mixer's running. I'm popping on my little plastic collar just to keep the insulation in while we mix. So from here on out, the timing is really driven by your ice cream maker. So my freezer bowl says that the timing here is 15 to 25 minutes. However, that could vary widely based on what your setup is like at home. So when we get to the desired consistency, I'm gonna stop this and then we'll fold in our everything bagel streusel by hand. All right, and we've just hit 18 minutes and I'm really liking the way this is looking. So I'll get this insulation collar off. All right. And one of the things I really like about this Breville freezer bowl for my mixer is the shape of the paddle. Normally these ice cream paddles are all like lots of nooks and crannies. This is literally like 2 straight passes, and it has a built-in squeegee. The entire thing is silicone. So Breville is really good about having scrapers built into their products. I'm not sponsored, I'm just a fan of the brand. So you can see how easy that is to get off and no waste whatsoever. Get this off the base here. So I had a glass bowl in my freezer just to chill down, and we're gonna do the folding of the bagel streusel in there just so it's a little bit wider and easier to work with. And so this is what the texture looks like after 18 minutes of mixing. So pretty firm, nice job for a freezer bowl, not a proper ice cream maker. And obviously I think this is probably way more streusel than we need. So I'm gonna take some of these big pieces and I'm gonna break them. The texture of these has really crisped up from that 10 or so minutes of toasting that we did. It kind of has the texture of cookie dough now and like a cookie dough ice cream. So I think that's a win. And then these ones that are a little bit smaller, we'll just scoop up this way. So that's about half of our streusel mixture. I'm just kind of folding it around to get it spread throughout. Okay, and I think that looks good. It seems like a good presence of the streusel without being too overpowering. And so now we're gonna pop this into a container to go into the freezer just to finish setting up nice and firm. Put a little streusel on the top just for fun. So I am really happy with this. I'm gonna press some cling film against the surface and we'll pop this into the freezer for probably about an hour to 2 hours, just until it's firmed up enough to where we can scoop it and eat it like a traditional style ice cream. Our ice cream's chilled in the freezer for about an hour and a half, so it's firmed up considerably, but it's still nice and soft and scoopable. And this is the end result. So you can see we've got a nice presence of that everything bagel streusel right on the top there. It smells oniony and garlicky and cream cheesy all at the same time. It's a little confusing to process what's happening right now. I am so eager to dig in, so let's give it a taste. Wow. Oh my gosh. The texture of the ice cream is fantastic. It is so velvety and smooth. Those streusel bits are so crispy and the flavor is intense. It's exactly what I wanted. It really hits you with some punch. If you're someone who can chew ice cream, this is perfect as is because the ice cream balances out the intense flavor from the streusel. However, if you're someone who likes to let the ice cream melt in your mouth and then just chew the chewy bits at the end, this is way, way too much seasoning, so you'll probably want to dial it back considerably. So I do have some leftover streusel pieces, and just to show you, this is kind of what they look like, a little toasty on the bottom, but listen to the crunch here. And then the inside is a little bit chewy, kind of like a cookie dough texture. It's phenomenal. So overall, I'm super happy with this ice cream. It turned out exactly how I wanted it to, and it made 4 cups of ice cream, aka 2 pints of Jeni's. So this would be $24 worth of ice cream, and it only took a couple hours. So if you're interested in trying this out, 100% recommend this homemade version. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, please be sure to give me a big thumbs up and click subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.